Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Welcome, folks. Hope you had a blessed weekend. Great to be back with you today. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case, your host, Mark Manila. The whole gang's here. Mark, welcome, brother. Good to be back.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Happy Monday, everyone.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Hey, give us a call, folks, if you would. 610-363-1110. Phone lines are open. We want to talk to you. 610-363-1110. You might be wondering, as we are as well, not wondering as much as just observing how the pre-markets have just skyrocketed up. We'll get to that in just a moment. The markets did have a rather rough finish last week, marking now 4 down weeks in a row. We'll discuss all that. You know, guys, I think it's probably best to just jump right into it. First and foremost here, looking at the Iran war and what's going on there. That's been the big news headline, the big thing that seems to be what's been driving the markets. Sam, $200 billion have been spent thus far on the Iran war. Give us the details on this, Sam. What's been going on?
Well, the request is actually to spend $200 billion on the Iran war. That is coming from Secretary of State Pete Hegseth making that announcement last week. Congress already has authorized $856 billion for the Pentagon in fiscal year 2026. But Hegseth says that money is needed. The additional $200 billion is needed for the cost of operations. And more importantly, this is the main point, to replenish weapon stockpiles already spent. So here is Hegseth.
$200 billion. I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded for what's been done, for what we may have to do in the future, ensure that our ammunition everything's refilled, and not just refilled, but above and beyond. I mean, President Trump, as he said, rebuilt the military in his first term, didn't think he'd use it as dynamically in his second, but he had. So thank goodness he did that. And an investment like this is meant to say, hey, we'll replace anything that was spent.
Secretary Scott Bessent also reiterated that over the weekend. He said, listen, we have plenty of money for this war, but it is important to replenish those stockpiles. Democrats are certainly going to vote against any resolution to spend more money on this war, as well as some more isolationist Republicans. So the only hope here is that there might be some sort of reconciliation package. And some Republicans say that package should include things like anti-fraud measures and perhaps to codify Donald Trump's tariffs alongside that spending as a way of offsetting that $200 billion. What would be interesting, though, is that if we do spend $200 billion and just that on this war, it would actually make it the cheapest war that the United States has actively been involved in. To this point, World War I holds the record for the cheapest war, $466 billion in 2024 money. The most expensive, meanwhile, shock of shocks, is World War II, $5.7 trillion in today's money. So the question is, Mark, is this a reasonable request from the Pentagon?
You mean borrowing another $200 billion?
Yes. Is that reasonable?
Because that's what it's really. I love Bessent. I love the idea that he says we have the money. If we have the money, why are we borrowing so much? If we have the money, why do we have to borrow $39 trillion? Why do we have to pay interest on $39? We don't have the money.
And that's the background, right? Is this $39 trillion in national debt? What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Every dollar we spend is borrowed, period now. Every dollar we spend. We are already over budget. We're only a quarter way into we're over our it's ridiculous. Do I understand it? Yeah, wars cost money. Does it make sense to borrow money to do this? Well, I guess it could if it keeps half the United States from being nuked by Iran or something. It makes sense. But let's just be real about it. We're borrowing money to do this. Yeah, I do like the idea of codifying Trump tariffs by Congress. Haven't we said that for like 4 months now? But yeah, I love that idea, and that could offset it or partially offset it. But I just, I have such mixed emotions on this. You know my feeling about that. I really believe it's what's going to do our country in if we don't get it under control. And we were starting to do that before we went to war. Now we're moving backwards again. So I am very concerned about that, and yet I know it needs to be done. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do. I don't like it. I'm not happy with it. I think we should have more intelligence to figure out how to make it work. Like, I don't know. How about this? Let's cut out things that aren't important. Let's continue to do that to offset it. I just believe it's possible, very possible. Let's cut the fraud. Let's cut the fraud on the Republican side, too. The Democrats had all these NGOs set up to wash money through, trillions through, actually, over the years here. And we've seen this administration come in and start shutting down these NGOs, shutting down the fraud, or going after the fraud and waste. But there's fraud and waste on the Republican side, and that's in the military, and that's in the other areas. We dump all this money into the military, more money than ever before, and nobody can account for it all. I just think it's wrong.
Mark, let me ask a follow-up question to that, because I think you brought up something that's really interesting, and I think it is something that we do need to discuss here. I do wonder, and please shed light on this, Mark, if I'm missing something here, and anyone can chime in, by the way, 610-363-1110. Is this war genuinely a necessary war when we're talking about the threat of Islam and stemming the tide? I mean, let's not forget, folks, Europe is under an invasion right now. Europe is invaded by Islam. Shouldn't we be more focused on the invasion in the West than in focusing on an Islamic regime in the Middle East? And I'm genuinely just wondering, Mark, I'm a little bit of an isolationist myself. And by the way, I like a lot of what Trump has done as well. What's your thinking on that, Mark? I
think for Christmas we're going to give you rocks and stones and concrete so you can build your walls.
Well, my response to that, Seth, are you suggesting that we somehow spend money to help England to get rid of that problem? I mean, is that what you're suggesting? Because that also creates the same problem of spending money on other countries.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, listen, Hegseth's not wrong. You have to spend money to kill bad guys. Exactly.
You do.
I just wonder if we went after, and maybe it's because they're going after the heart of the problem, which is the Iranian regime in the Middle East. But there are also serious problems at much closer to our doors. And I mean, even I don't know what kind of terror cells there are in the United States right now. My hope is, and I believe that the Trump administration is dealing with those, with these ICE arrests and different things like that. But Mark, am I missing something here? The resident isolationist?
I think I agree with you. I don't think it's isolationist. The idea that we don't want terror cells in our country is not isolationist. It's common sense. The idea that we don't want China buying property next to our bases, our military bases, our vital infrastructure, that's just common sense. That's not isolationist. The idea that we want to have control of all our utilities and not have somebody else be able to just shut them down on a whim through their technology, that's not isolationist. That's common sense. That all should be going on, and hopefully it is. I really hope it is,
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's not, I'm really concerned. You're right. $200 billion going over there, sure. Everything is expensive, but that's getting back to that. I remember reading all my life, a $200 toilet bowl, toilet seat for, when the military bought toilet seats, they paid $200 a piece for them. It's like, why? whose kid or whose relative owned that company making the toilet seats?
Using the bathroom in luxury.
They're really nice toilet seats, though.
Yeah, but why? I mean, buying tens of thousands of these. I mean, everything is so expensive. It doesn't have to be that way. We need to do better, and we need to make sure we do it here at home instead of buying it overseas where we can't track it and stuff. So I still think there's a lot of work to be done. I don't know if it'll ever be done. We may have to just hope that somebody comes in and hopefully this administration brings back down the debt, and we just have to. I hate the idea of saying this out loud, but we just have to realize that inefficiency, fraud, and waste are part of the system. Ow, that hurts to say that. I just don't want to do that. Let's not do that. I got an idea, folks. Let's do this. Let's all of us together start voting in good people. Make sure Republicans or Democrats that they want to balance the budget, that they're going to balance. They promise to balance the budget. They put it on file that they're going to balance the budget and get the debt paid down. Otherwise, we might as well just kiss it goodbye for our grandkids.
Absolutely. 610-363-1110. Listen, folks, if you want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. 610-363-1110. Mark, real quickly, just wanted to mention here, folks, if you're trying to connect on our chat, you're not able to right now, I would encourage you to go to one of our social streams, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and chat over there. But this is all the more reason for you to call in. You can still reach us by our phones at 610-363-1110. So, Mark, hope we get a lot of calls today. It's an interesting conversation. Sure.
I do, too. I missed the chat already. I missed the chat, and that means the feedback coming in. I can't be jumping around all over the place on this, so please do call in. We'd love to hear your opinion on some of these things, and we'd also like to address your questions. Again, 610-363-1110. Join the show. Join the party. It's Happy Monday. Join us.
Here at Financial Issues, we believe in being faithful stewards of everything God has entrusted to us, and nothing is more important than investing in the next generation. The most meaningful way we can do that is by sharing the hope of salvation with young people, giving them a foundation of truth that can shape the rest of their lives. Crossroads Kids Club is an after-school program that brings the gospel directly to elementary school children in public schools across the country. Week after week, volunteers have the opportunity to build consistent, Christ-centered relationships with kids during some of their most formative years. These aren't just programs, they're life-changing encounters that point children to Jesus and surround them with encouragement, mentorship, and biblical truth. Together, we can make a lasting difference for the kingdom. We can help reach children who may never otherwise hear the good news. If you feel called to be part of sharing the gospel with kids in public schools, visit reachourschools.com. Again, that's reachourschools.com.
Do you know what you are supporting when you purchase mutual funds and stocks? Think about it. When you invest in a company, you make a decision to support the things that that company supports. And it may not be things that you agree with. Financial Issues is a ministry teaching people like you how to invest biblically, responsibly, keeping your investments clear of companies that may support an ungodly agenda. Learn more by going to financialissues.org. Financialissues.org.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant. My family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She offered to get me an ultrasound. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep him.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Baby.
Love to hear from you here, folks. 610-363-1110. Get your call queued up right now. And make sure to sign that petition as well for the Trump accounts, TrumpAccountsForAll.com. Mark, I'm excited for the signatures we've gotten so far. We need a lot more, though. So sign that petition right now. Yep, TrumpAccountsForAll.com. All right, Mark and Sam, I want to ask a follow-up question from the previous segment's discussion.
Can't do that.
So here,
segment's over.
Segment's over. It's gone. No,
Get your hand off that button, Sam.
That's right. Thank you, Mark. Sam, you had mentioned, and I quote, Democrats almost as certain to vote against any additional defense spending, along with some more isolationist Republicans. Aren't these the same people who only 3 or 4 years ago, these Democrats I'm talking about, were the ones who were saying we need to send more money to Ukraine, more retirement savings to Ukraine, save democracy. Now all of a sudden they've changed their tune.
And
Am I
about
reading
the same
room
amount of
right
money,
there?
by
It's
the
about
way.
the same amount of money, exactly. Obviously, it's a slightly different fight. You know, you had Ukraine versus Russia, and now this is up against a clearly radical Islamist foe. Mark, speak to that for just a moment. Is there a little bit? Is there a little bit of a double standard there?
Yeah, I guess there is, but it's all different also.
Yeah.
Remember, Russia invaded Ukraine.
Sure.
Ukraine was, but Ukraine also was the capital of the world for fraud. You know, we know that prior to the Russia-Ukraine war, that Ukraine was on our hot list for where so much money was being poured into. There was fraud with the Bidens. There was, you know, the Bidens on some sort of boards over there,
Burisma?
Energy board.
Burisma,
yeah, just all sorts of fraud and stuff going on, and influence. So I think it's a whole different thing. But at the same time, it doesn't matter because it's still money we don't have.
Yeah.
It's still money we don't have. So, you know, I believe stewardship, we have to balance these kind of things. I don't think this is expansion for us. I hope it's not for our country. We're not trying to expand and own Iran, you know, and make it part of the U.S. But at the same time, we have to be careful on how we do what we do. Now, it seems like we are policing the world again, which I think maybe sometimes we should, especially when Iran has continuously lied about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and has continuously. By the way, I heard over the weekend, a friend of mine said, actually, it was one of my sons said that we started a war with Iran, and I reminded him, I can't remember a year in which Iran hasn't said they were at war with the United States.
Or hasn't been killing United States troops in the Middle East.
Hasn't declared war on it. I mean, they actually have, in the media, declared war on the United States, promised to kill Satan. That's who they call us, the big Satan in the world.
They must really love
United
us.
States.
Boy, to call us that.
So I think we've been at war with them for 40, 50 years, actually. So I don't want to say that we started this war, but I think that Trump is trying to put an end to it, at least for a couple of generations.
Yeah, that's well said, Mark. I'm really glad.
I don't like the idea that we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on anything, especially on killing people.
Absolutely. Well, and Mark, you know, it does get back to, and sorry, Sam, this is just the thought that came to my mind. You know, the Trump administration ran on the promise. I mean, part of the reason why I do think a lot of people were so, there was no new wars.
I believe his term was no new stupid wars.
Yeah,
specifically the promise.
So then that's the question: is this a stupid war? And Mark, what you're revealing to me, even live as we're talking about this, and I appreciate it so much, is that it does seem like this is maybe more of a reactionary response than just we're just going to spend a bunch of taxpayer money and we're going to go blow up stuff. This is actually much more hey, you know what? No, these guys have been causing a lot of trouble. And if we don't deal with them now, they're going to cause a lot more trouble for possibly our children or grandchildren's generation, and certainly for our allies in the Middle East and for the world as a whole. Let's deal with this now while the problem is still manageable. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know, Seth, and there's two roads here that really bother me.
Yeah.
One road says, oh my gosh, the administration didn't realize if they use $200 billion worth of armaments and bombs and bullets and use them up, that we'll have to replace them. That's a terrible road to look down and think that our administration would be so shallow. The other side is they didn't realize how much it would take to bring Iran to its knees, or at least to make them to where they're at not as big a threat, or not a big enough threat for us to continue bombing them. And it took a whole lot more than they estimated. Either way, I think the second road is probably where it fell, because intelligence is never as intelligent as intelligence should be.
I like that.
That is good. Sam, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, maybe this is simplistic, but I would think that some of the cost analysis here is, do you think, and I'm not saying for our audience whether they should think this is a good deal or not, but should the question be, do you think $200 billion from an indebted United States is worth it to remove the Ayatollah regime off the map? That's kind of the question you have to ask, right?
Yeah, I think that's it's a harsh and good question.
Yeah.
You know, again, the idea of wiping anybody off the map just really concerns me. I know biblical and Old Testament times, God said, go in and destroy this nation, leave nothing standing. I don't think he's done that in the New Testament that I've ever saw. We're supposed to be spreading the gospel. I know we have to stand up. We have to stand up for the weak and the poor and those who can't defend themselves. And maybe this is what's happening here. I'm concerned about it on both ends. I'm concerned that Iran continuously tries to destroy us, and I'm concerned that we're going over and destroying them as well. There is evil in this world, though. Yeah. And so God raises up people for a reason. So let's just be praying for the salvation of as many people over there as possible.
Mark, I think you're right. And I think maybe to even add another layer to that too, the idea of pacifism and having peace at all costs, it's a wonderful idea. In a sinful world, you have to wonder, how possible is it really? You can't have that. You have to have good, strong people who are going to stand up to the bullies.
Doesn't Paul say, live at peace with everyone whenever possible?
Yeah, as far as it depends on you. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And here's another point that it's probably going to upset a lot of our listeners is that I always have concerns, no matter what administration is that they're pulling the wool over our eyes. Yeah. Was this absolutely necessary or not? Is this just another way to launder money for politicians or not? I've been behind Trump the whole time. I've been behind him on what he did, not what he says. As I've often said, I like what he does. I don't like how he says it or the disrespect or that he has for so many people. He doesn't carry the honor. He doesn't express honor very well, And the Bible tells us to be respectful and honorable, even if we disagree. Now, if somebody was shooting at me and somebody was trying to kill me and somebody had tried to put me in jail 426 times, I don't know how much I would be kind-worded.
427 times, Mark. 427 times.
Okay. So I just don't think that I'm right to judge him on it. Yeah. I think that God raised him up. There's reasons for it. But I think any intelligent person, and you guys can fight me on this, but any intelligent person has to question every move of a bureaucracy as large as our federal government.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Yeah, Mark, I don't think you're going to get much fight from us on that one. I think we agree. But perhaps our listeners, if someone's out there and they disagree with that, we want to hear from you. 610-363-1110. But Mark, I agree with you 100%. Doesn't matter the administration. Doesn't matter how much I love the guy. Doesn't matter who I voted for, if I voted for him or not. There's always a wise level of distrust that I have, and I think we should have when we wonder, okay, why are these guys doing this? Is there an alternative motive? Absolutely.
That's what's so frustrating about the mainstream media. We complain about them all the time. And one of my biggest complaints is not even necessarily that they're so cynical about the Trump administration, but it's when there's a Democrat administration, they stop all that cynicism. That's what's really obnoxious about it. Oh, it's like, I'd rather you be cynical about all administrations all the time.
And if we're going to beat up on them for their lack of curiosity, or what would be the right term? I don't even want to call it fairness. Just
like scrutiny.
How about
appropriate scrutiny?
Lack of scrutiny, because we have to manage this government. This is our job. This is our part of the stewardship of this country God gave us, is to vote in great people. If we don't, we destroy our nation. If we don't vet the people we're voting in, and we just do it because, there's a D in front of his name, there's an R in front of his name, we vote based on that instead of who that person is, how they've lived, how they've proved themselves, or how they haven't proved themselves, how they've automatically changed their character overnight just to get elected, how they start saying things differently just to get a vote. That's craziness. We got to be grown-ups in this room. God calls the Christians of America to stand up and vote for righteous people to be in our government. Intelligent, righteous leaders. That's what we need.
Well said. Well, guys, there is another aspect to this also, and it's the markets. The markets have been impacted by all this stuff. As you know, Mark, we've talked about it on the show a lot. They were down to close the week. The Friday's bell saw the Dow down a full percent, the S&P down 1.5%, the NASDAQ down a full 2%, and Russell 2000 down 2.25%. But the pre-markets this morning are way up, right around 2%, because it seems, at least, Trump has said that the U.S. and Iran have held productive talks, and it seems like, at least the markets think so, that maybe there's an end in sight to this, and they seem to love it. Mark, what do you think about that?
Yeah, who in Iran is he talking to?
Yeah, right.
I thought they killed everybody.
Exactly.
I mean, they killed all the leadership. Who are they talking to?
Right.
Let's get a little depth. Is there any news anymore, any news organization that gives you any depth, any insights, anything? I search for hours. I use AI, and all I get is these surface things, and that's hard on us as civilians, as citizens of this country, not to get in-depth news. When Trump says he's talking with somebody, who's he talking with? I just don't know.
Question.
How, what does it matter? Is it all optics? That's what I'm always concerned about. Obviously here, we're not about optics. We're about speaking the truth, hopefully in love, and being respectful and honorable as we do it. Sometimes it doesn't always come out like that. And when it doesn't, why don't you call us on it? 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110. We'd love to hear from you. Did you know that an unborn baby's heart beats at an average of 120 times every minute? That steady rhythm, that precious sound, that's the sound of life. Preborn partners with local pregnancy clinics across the nation to help mothers choose life, providing free ultrasounds, counseling, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. When an abortion-minded mother hears that sound, 80% of the time, they choose life. For $28, you can sponsor a life-saving ultrasound and share the hope of the gospel with a mother facing an unplanned pregnancy. Hi, I'm Mark Manella, host of Financial Issues, and today I want to encourage you to give to the amazing work of Preborn. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby.
You're careful about what you bring home when shopping, especially when it comes to feeding your family. Shouldn't your investments work the same way? At Timothy Plan, we offer a wide selection of mutual funds and ETFs that can help you allocate assets without compromising your values. From technology to healthcare, energy to real estate, our funds are not only diverse but uncompromising to your values. Timothy Plan funds are filtered to avoid companies involved in abortion, pornography, human trafficking, and other harmful agendas. What you invest in should reflect what you stand for. Are your investments bearing good fruit? What's in your portfolio? Contact your financial advisor today to find out, or contact Timothy Plan directly at 1-800-TIM-PLAN to discover more. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential
have you all this morning, folks. Give us a call right now, 610-363-1110. Mark, the markets just opened up, and as they were in the pre-markets, very strong here. The Dow Jones is up 1.5%. S&P 500 right around the same, about 1.33%, and the NASDAQ right around 1.2%. So feeling very good on what they, as you said, Mark, what they seem, or at least are seeing, is positive movement between Trump and Iran. Just the question is, who's he talking to? Wiped out the whole regime. And I'm not necessarily against that, by the way. I think it was necessary. Obviously understanding human lives and human cost and all that stuff. But I think Trump did what was necessary. But yeah, who do you think he is talking to? I don't know. So that's what that's looking like there, Mark.
Mark, is this kind of optimism in the market over something like this a little dangerous, though? Because it seems to me that any little bit of bad news could send this tanking, because this is built on so much hope right here.
Welcome to the market.
Yeah.
Nothing new here.
Nothing new under the sun.
Markets are emotional. Remember, always, markets are emotional. They're animalistic in their emotions, and a loud noise makes them growl and bite and run and attack. A couple of nice steaks tossed on the ground, and they calm down, and so that's the way the markets are. They're animalistic. Always remember that. They're not your friend. Markets are not your friend.
Wise move, Mark. Yeah, it's good. 610-363-1110. Mark, let's get to a good question here from Josh. Josh is a youngster. He's 33. We're grateful to have him and so many folks like him who are getting started. He says, I have a 401k and a pension that are being terminated by my previous employer, so I'm looking to roll the funds into an IRA. These were in funds chosen by my employer previously, but now I want to move them into BRI investments. I'm 33 years old. I have about $50,000 I'll be rolling over. Should I immediately allocate 100% of these funds, or should I leave higher percentages in cash to take advantage of potential short-term pullbacks? So, Mark, I think really kind of the big question here is, how quickly should Josh build out his portfolio once he gets this money rolled over into the IRA?
Wow, there's so many ideas on that. I think that how old is Josh?
He's 30. He's 33.
33.
Yeah.
Josh, you really need to be considering where the markets are today. Remember, everything's done in the light of the environment of the market. So if the markets are on a pullback and they've been pulling back for a while, well, we can look over. Does it mean they're going to stop pulling back? No. So, when you think about that, you start thinking, well, markets have been pulling back and they could continue. Maybe I should dollar cost average in. Okay, that could work. But remember, time in the market is what's so important, more than timing the market. We may get in, we may wait occasionally. You hear me say, well, we're just waiting for a better entry point on this. That's so we can get a good rush at the beginning on it, and hopefully that'll compound later on. But really, at your age, I would think going with a lump sum, even if it pulls back, even if it took on average a year or two for everything to get back to where it was when you dumped it all in, you're still going to see the compounding going on later on, and you'll receive it. I think a good combination might be good at this point, because we're not sure of the environment right now. As you heard Seth say at the beginning of this segment here, the markets are up, and they're up pretty strong right now because of a few words saying that we might be, or Trump might be negotiating into this situation. I don't know. Nobody knows. So maybe taking about half of it, getting in the market, put up the other half. There's plenty of buys. I would just go into the partner broad list, find the buys, start buying into the things that you like. If you run out of money, that's fine. If you just don't spend much, that's fine too. The idea is, don't be worried about it. Just go ahead and find the things that you like. There are some things pulling up. There have been some things that's weathered right through without an issue. You want to go into there and find different ideas and buy into them. And especially, I think, in the tech world, a lot of stuff is pulled back to where they're actually starting to look a bit reasonable in pricing. So you might want to get into these, because when they shoot up, they do real fast and real hard. And trying to time the market is very, 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 very difficult. That's why we don't do it. That's why we look at long term. We look at for stocks that have great potential, but also have the financial issue steel foundation fundamentals to carry them to that potential. And that's why they're on the buy list. So I know it sounded a little wishy-washy, but they, at the very least, just go in and start buying what you feel looks good to you on our buy list, and then continue doing that. If you don't find anything else, just wait. If the markets leave you behind, they do. If they drop, they do. It's not worth worrying. This too will pass, no matter which direction it goes. That's the bottom line on it.
Well said. Josh, a great thing for you to remember is you're 33 right now. You will presumably not be drawing on this money until at the very earliest, you're 59 and a half. If my math is correct, Mark, what is that, 25 and a half years, 26 years?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That's the plan.
That's a long time. Yeah, hopefully, barring some kind of emergency or anything. So that's really good.
Well, to someone your age, it's a long time. Someone like me, it's not right. So long.
I understand. I'm not going to comment on it anymore, Mark, because the whole age thing.
I'm just saying.
No, that's good.
You're going to give us an existential crisis.
Well, Mark, speaking of time here, I think this is really important because I have heard, and I know other folks probably have as well, that as you're talking about how long you take to deploy your cash, I've heard anywhere from 1 month to a year, 3 months to 6 months, something like that. So say Josh follows what you said, Mark, and he takes $25,000 of that 50 and he keeps it in cash in his money market, and then the other $25,000 is investable. How long should he take in deploying that other $25,000?
Yeah, 3 to 6 months is the longest I would go in it.
Okay.
What this does, it gives exposure to the market immediately by taking half, or maybe a little more. See, I lean towards a little more.
Sure.
Even at this old age, I'm still that way. I believe being in the market's really important. It also reduces the emotional risk of bad timing. If you don't put everything in, and you got some still out, well, if the market if you're early in this market wave, then you don't get as emotional about the pull down that might happen. If you're late, you have money already in there, so it kind of balances out the emotions. And this also gives you discipline. You get a plan and you move on it. Put 50 to 70% in right away, and then dollar cost average in the rest over the next 3 months or 6 months.
Awesome
and
stuff.
And you still can keep a fat cash if you want, instead of 3% or 5% or whatever your asset allocation model says. You can keep it a little expanded because you think there's even better blue light specials coming.
That's great. The last piece of advice I'll just give to Josh as well, Mark, is he didn't mention what type of IRA he's going into. I would tell him go into the Roth IRA. It's going to be a taxable event, but it's far better for him to pay the taxes right now.
If you can afford to do that,
absolutely. Do it if you can afford it.
Taxes are out of pocket.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great stuff. Josh, that's a great question, and we're so grateful that you had asked us. Mark, I did want to just remind our listeners as well, this is your last chance to sign an Easter card for our friends at Crossroads Kids Club. So please take that opportunity. If you've not signed one, or even if you have signed one and you want to do a second one, there's no rule saying you can only do one card. Do as many as you'd like. Absolutely. We would love that. Go to reachOurschools.com. Mark, it took me about 5 minutes to sign my card, and
exactly.
it was not so because I tried to rush into it or anything, but it's so simple. It's so simple.
Yeah. So simple, and it could be as easy as Happy Easter, God bless you. It could be that simple, or it could be you could have a tug on your heart, and God's telling you to send something about the way to get to heaven. Maybe you want to give them a good verse. You could copy a verse in there and tell them how much God loves them, and tell them Happy Easter. Whatever you want to do, though. It is easy, and it is a wonderful thing. I love this campaign.
Absolutely. Really, really cool, Mark. So, go ahead and do that, folks. reachOurschools.com. Mark, quickly here, so many of our audience was able to switch over to one of our other streams. So hello to those of you on Facebook. There's a lot of people chatting on Facebook this morning. I see Brian there. I see Jim there. Great to see you all today. We will get these chat issues fixed for sure, but so grateful that we have other methods for you to be able to join join us and chat. So good to see all of you there as well. Mark, don't think we have time here for another question, but we'll get to some more questions on the other side of this break here. But I just want to remind our listeners again one more time that if you can please go and sign that Trump Accounts for All petition. We want as many signatures on this as possible. Mark, why are we doing this? One more time.
Why are we doing this? Well, the impact is incredible. And in 1 minute, I couldn't tell you all the impact. But imagine this. Imagine being left out because over 40% of any major index is in abortion, pornography, addictive products, or other ugliness. And imagine the opportunity, though, of taking this to D.C. and the Trump administration saying, oh, we did miss that, and then bringing the awareness of investing with biblical integrity to all the Christians, in fact, all of America. Wouldn't that be incredible? Because the majority of Christians still don't understand investment stewardship like you, our listeners, do. So this gives us the opportunity to do that and to get investments for our children and grandchildren in these great accounts, these things that they call Trump accounts. And finally, it impacts our world. It impacts our nation, because when we start getting more people investing with integrity, righteous things happen. And that's what we want to happen. 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110. Really love to hear from you.
Here at Financial Issues, we believe in being faithful stewards of everything God has entrusted to us, and nothing is more important than investing in the next generation. Crossroads Kids Club is an after-school program that brings the gospel directly to elementary school children in public schools across the country. These aren't just programs, they're life-changing encounters that point children to Jesus and surround them with encouragement, mentorship, and biblical truth. If you feel called to be part of sharing the gospel with kids in public schools, visit reachourschools.com.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone. And ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
It's been great to be here with you today, folks. Appreciate each of you joining us so very much. Mark, let's get to another question here. We've got Keith. He's 78 years old. He says, hey, Mark, Monday, March 16th, a caller asked about needing to declare that she's a U.S. citizen because she owns Israeli stock. I'm an owner of Israeli stock. I looked through Fidelity information for such a document with no success. I need more information regarding this issue, so I will at least sound intelligent before I call Fidelity regarding this issue. Would you please help me? Mark, what would you have for Keith?
Sure, Keith. Absolutely. You didn't say whether you own CyberArk, which is what the conversation was about. So I'm not sure if you're focusing in on that or just other Israeli companies. So I'll try and answer this as best I can for you with the information we have. First of all, the CyberArk situation, CyberArk is Israeli company. They need to know if you're a citizen or not. They need to know whether they can tax you or not on that. That's the bottom line on. That's what that's all about. If it's a different stock or whatever, it may not be an issue because this was a merger. This was an issue with a merger. It'll only become an issue if there's some tax consequences that would impact Israeli citizens because they're invested in making money on an Israeli stock. That's what really that's all about.
Yeah, it's great. And I'll just say this too, Mark, for Keith, we have a lot of people who own the Israeli Common Values Fund with the Timothy Plan. You won't have to worry about this issue there either because the stock was part of that fund. The fund managers will take care of, combing through and making sure that there's another stock in there if they choose to replace it with that. So if you own the Israeli Common Values Fund, no need to worry about it either.
Yeah, so when you call Fidelity, just ask if there's any additional certification is required for this, for whatever stock you own, if you sell it, if you have gains on it or whatever. And to prove that you're not in his, well, I don't even know that, to prove where you're a citizen.
Right.
So that the right income tax forms can be filled out when it's time to do so.
Exactly. Mark, we don't often think about this, but other nations have their own tax laws as well. And if you are in a situation like this, you realize
Seems like every government knows how to extract life out of people.
They do. No matter how good the government is, they still take taxes, don't they?
A vampire is still a vampire.
That's right,
I heard a really good argument about taxes from a gentleman who never paid taxes. He did end up in jail, but it was a good argument. But what he said was, I don't need to pay. I don't have a gain on anything because what I did, when I don't have any gains to pay taxes on, I traded one item for another. I traded hours of my life for this money. And so effectively, it was an equal trade, therefore it shouldn't be taxable.
Listen, Mark, I'm a big fan of that logic.
I love the logic too.
Sounds like the government wasn't a big fan of that logic.
No, they didn't like it. Yeah,
no, for sure. That's too funny. He did end up in jail, but it's awesome.
Talk to some people that say, I don't pay taxes, and I just think, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people I've come across who haven't paid taxes for many, many years. Now, many of them probably would have got money back from the government, not just their own money, but all their money plus, additional money because of their income level and how generous our government is with your and my taxes.
I have enough anxiety. I don't have to worry about if the IRS is going to knock on my door someday.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said. Well, Mark, here we got another question. JH is 59. He says, Schwab does not automatically put your money into a high-yield savings account like Fidelity or Vanguard. You have to invest in one of their, quote, prime money funds and or government or treasury money funds. Would you suggest any of the following? He lists them out, Mark. They're all just government funds, so you don't have to worry about, whether they're BRI or not. It's SWVXX, SNVXX, SNOXX, and SNSXX. So, what would you say?
I thought one of those actually had other types of investments in it. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, let me look and see which one it might be. You know what? It could be SWVXX. Looks like that one, Mark, has a broader range of short-term instruments.
It has some corporate debt exposure. So it's not just all government debt. So effectively, SWVXX may be a little higher, like 0.02% better or something. I don't know how much it really is. But it's not of significance, but you are taking a higher risk with it because you're going into corporate debt. Also, because we don't know what's in it, what companies they're lending money to. We don't know if they're lending them to some companies that utilize that money to dishonor God, to hurt people, to use and abuse people, to disrespect biblical principles. So maybe stay away from that one and just stay into the corporate debt exposures of the others. And they're all pretty close. And the safety, the liquidity, it's all about the same in the others.
Yeah. My guess is JH probably doesn't care too much about a 0.01% difference in possible APY yield, which technically one of them has that much of a higher yield. It's like small potatoes at that point. So yeah, Mark, I would agree. Yep.
Yeah, but I like the idea that you want to be intentional about this. That's very good because you're not getting anything just sitting in cash in their account. If you are getting anything, it's pennies. So being intentional, match the fund to the purpose, which you're doing. I really believe that's important. Find a fund that's clean or paying something, at least keeping up with the taxes and inflation, hopefully. Probably not, but close at least. And in doing so, maybe it's a little extra work on this platform, but it's worthwhile. At least your money's earning something. It's not dead money at that point, and you'll sleep better at night.
Exactly. And that's the important thing to just be a reminder for all of you folks. In case you're listening and you were confused, you want to find these. This is only if your money is in Schwab. So if you're in Fidelity, it doesn't apply to you. If you're in Vanguard, it doesn't apply to you. This is an option that's only available for Schwab. And perhaps there are other brokerage accounts, Mark, that offer an option like this too, but I haven't heard of them. So
a lot of brokerages, a lot of platforms have what they call sweep, and it automatically sweeps you to a good money market if you ask them to do that.
Yeah.
And then when you buy stuff, it'll sweep it back out of there. But anyway,
very cool.
You have to know your platform. That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's part of the responsibility that comes with everything that God has entrusted you with, is to know how to best utilize the platform or the brokerage that you're using. It's not a big deal. You just got to spend some time out there sometime.
Absolutely. And Mark, it sometimes even comes down to, and the reason I say this is we do get this question a lot. Sometimes it just comes down to customer service and userability. I'm on a platform that I like partially because I like the app. The app is easy to use. It's relatively user friendly on the website as well, and it's got decent customer service. So I picked it. Not so bad. Yep.
Yeah, the customer service is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Charles is up next. He's 65. He says, "Good morning, team. I thank God for you guys. I'm looking at retirement in the next few months. I have about 1.8 million I'm managing, 1.2 in a traditional, 600,000 in a Roth. I've got retirement income of about 5,000. I plan on drawing Social Security in January of 2027. Mark, I assume that's when Charles hits full retirement age. About $3,000. That's per month. I'd like to use 500,000 for income. What would be a safe draw? I'd like to draw between 4,000 and 5,000. I also have some dividend stocks at 13%, several at 7 to 8%. What would you have for Charles, Mark?
Yeah, okay. He's wanting to withdraw 4,000 to 5,000 monthly from an account of 500,000. That's what I heard in what you said.
Yep.
That's very aggressive if you're not wanting to draw down on principal. And that's very important. When I say that, just to make sure everybody understands, if you have $500,000 and you're averaging, let's say 5% on that, that's only $2,500 a year. That's about $25,000 a year. That's about less than half of what you're really trying to. You're going to draw down about half of what you want just from the income only. So you'd have to take some of the principal out every year, or some years, let's say it that way, to supplement it. That sounds at odds with what you're wanting to do. So my suggestion is really that, over time, you probably could take 4 to 5%, maybe 6 to 7, but I wouldn't bank on it comfortably over a long term without having to invest in highly volatile income investments or worry about dividend reductions or interest rate reductions. So my thought would be either readjust how much you're going to draw off that to just take the income of whatever it produces, or increase the amount of the principal so you can really hit that 4 or 5K monthly that you want to take out of there without hitting the principal.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Mark. I'm glad that you're able to give that to Charles. And I'll just say this also, Charles, I think you've done a great job. And
I do too.
Mark, it's
actually a great question.
It is.
But the thing that I'm worried about is that the way the question was worded, it sounded very confident that he could get 7% ongoing. And over the many years that I've been in the markets, I've seen interest rates go down so low you'll never get close to that. And then I've seen times where you could do that easily. But I always think it's best to plan from the lower end of it. And then if you exceed, you can just reinvest that money. And that's what being a steward's about. It's about planning ahead. It's about utilizing what God has entrusted to you in a way that makes sense, that isn't risking, that isn't gambling, so that when he tugs at your heart to use that money for a way that is important, that you're able to do that, whether it's to care for your family or for others. So anyway, I just want to let you know you're doing a good job and you're thinking pretty good. And thank you for joining us, and thank you all for joining us, and thank you for honoring God by investing with biblical integrity. We hope to see you tomorrow, and we hope to have the chat up and running too. Sorry we didn't have that today. We'll find out what's going wrong with that, and we'll get that straightened out real quick because we got great people here.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.